Amazing pictures. And nobody seriously injured, we're told. Darren Lewis is back with a review of the newspapers. We're going to start with the Express.
We are. I've got to say, just before I start with the Express, and I know the editor won't like this, but the Telegraph got a nice, interesting piece about the AA saying that a large number of people in this country don't realise they're being taught to drive by trainee instructors. That's a very interesting segue on the back of that story. I know we haven't got it scanned in, but I just thought I'd mention that.
We'll try and establish whether a trainee instructor
Indeed, whether he was a trainee or not. No. Let's start with the Express, because Alison Little's their deputy political editor, and she's done this story, but it's in all of the papers because of the comments made by Lord Roger in the Supreme Court
Which
yesterday.
are frankly astonishing, and I hope he did it with his tongue firmly in cheek.
I'm not so sure he did. I mean, these are the quotes verbatim. He said, just as male heterosexuals are free to enjoy themselves playing rugby, drinking beer and talking about girls with their mates, so male homosexuals are to be free to enjoy themselves going to Kylie concerts, drinking exotically coloured cocktails, presumably with a little parasol
umbrella,
and talking about boys with their straight mates. Very, very bizarre comments.
He's either a judge who was like the judge who famously said, was it talking about David Beckham or Paul Gascoigne, who said, was it rugby or association football, or he's taking the mic.
Well, just very... I mean, there is a serious side to the story because obviously there were two men from Iran and Cameroon who'd been refused asylum by the appeal court on the grounds that they could avoid ill treatment by hiding their sexuality or behaving discreetly, and the Supreme Court overturned it. Sir Andrew Green from Migration Watch UK, expressing his reservations and saying this could be a green light to all people, loads of people claiming asylum on the basis of their sexuality. And I think this is a debate that's going to really rumble on and gather some momentum throughout the day.
OK. Is this the ironing board story that you're drawing our attention to?
Yes, indeed, because I just want... I've got to be honest, this struck a chord with me because I know this is very much Mrs. Lewis's point of view. Don't bother with the chocolates and the flowers now. Charlotte, tell me if I'm wrong, but the Daily Mail saying here that statistics, Professor Gary Cooper, he's a professor at the University of Lancaster, saying that lots of women forget all of those things. It's the housework, the vacuuming, the dusting. Is he wrong?
It's true. I think it's true. I think there is something about, you know, I was going to say doing things for other people, but actually things like that, it's not for other people, is it? But but I think that that's a good way of showing someone that you care, isn't it?
Yeah. Most men, certainly I've learned to do housework really badly, and I don't get called upon to do it again.
That's why you do it.
Yeah.
Or so my wife says.
Through that.
Car snacks to bribe children.
Yeah, it's his second of the two. Listen, as we all know, and anyone who reads a paper knows that every day we have these surveys which are done. This is by boostpack.com, the car seat makers.
Clearly reputable.
Clearly reputable
survey.
Indeed. And it says it takes just 41 minutes for parents to crack and start plying their children with sweets and treats to stop them whining in the car. I'm
a great believer in boredom in cars.
Yes.
You know, all this stuff about DVDs hanging from the back seat and people carrying. No. Let them fight and then fall asleep and get bored. I think boredom's quite important for creativity and imagination. So,
well, to be fair, they say 1 in 3 parents have installed a DVD player in their car to keep them entertained, and the same number let their offspring dictate the choice of music, presumably just to keep them quiet.
It's true.
They've obviously been in my car as well.
It's just easier to cave in sometimes.
Now, what's the height of vanity?
I don't know. Go on.
Cristiano Ronaldo naming his child after himself, which is a wonderful story in The Sun today.
Did Michael Jackson do something similar to that?
I'm not
but no, you're right.
Sure,
It's shameless. It's quite shameless.
Well, it is indeed. I mean, the interesting thing about... I mean, listen, last week he was just an ordinary millionaire footballer, and this week he's realised that he's found out that he has a child. He doesn't know who the mother is. It's a long story that we'll go into another time. But
it's a mystery story, actually, isn't it?
It's a mystery story indeed. But he has, and this is, you know, reported in all the papers, and it's come sort of filtered its way over here from Portugal. He's named his son after himself because he couldn't think of anything else to call him. So a very fascinating story indeed. But it has been long said that Cristiano Ronaldo's biggest fan is himself. Now we have.
And there's a bizarre picture with a baseball cap wearing toddler.
That's only
it's quite scary, isn't it?
It is unsettling, actually. We've had some emails about a story you drew our attention to in the last paper review, Darren. Take us through it again. Yeah,
well, Matt Roper's done this one in the Daily Mail for us. It's about a boy of 10 who's been granted a gun licence. It's prompted fury from anti-gun campaigners. He's believed to be the youngest person in Britain to have been granted permission to carry the weapon. This story, as you're seeing, is in the Daily Mirror today. My view, as is the view of Lucy Cope from the Mothers Against Guns, is that there is no reason why a child should have a gun.
But this isn't the view of a lot of our... Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, her quote is, the police should hang their heads in shame. The gun must be taken away and the licence revoked. Got to say, it's in Bedfordshire. Large number of under-18s in Bedfordshire with shotguns. But as you rightly suggest, there's been a big backlash
there
against
has, actually. A lot of people getting in touch about this morning. Jaden King is one of them. He says illegal weapons are the problem and social issues, not 10-year-olds being granted shotgun licences. Keith saying he's got a shotgun certificate but not a shotgun. He can't own a gun. He can only shoot when he's supervised by an adult on a certificate. He says, what's wrong with it? Shooting's one of the safest sports. And John McIntyre says he's a father. He's got shotguns. He says, I can't see the problem. I'm sure that 10-year-old's being checked by police. These young people could be our 2020 clay pigeon gold medal winners in the Olympics.
Well, I have to say that's a very positive spin on a
you don't look very
story.
Darren.
But I don't feel very chastened at all. Not at all. Not
Darren
at all.
Lewis, thanks very much indeed from the Daily Mirror. Our top stories then. 2 men held during...
Herself in right now.
A lot more on the spy story on our website, of course. Meantime, Charlotte's here with the rest of the day's news.
Colin, thank you. A man who recently won a legal battle to stay in Britain is back in police custody after being accused of planning terror attacks both here and in America. Abid Nasser was arrested after the US issued a warrant for therapy and radiotherapy treatment. And a solar-powered plane has landed safely in Switzerland after making a 24-hour test flight. The plane used solar cells on its wings to store and generate enough power to stay in the air for 24 hours. The single-seat aircraft weighs about as much as a family car, and it's taken 7 years to design it. The team behind it hope to eventually build an aircraft that will fly around the world on solar power alone. So this could be a pretty significant moment.
Don't see it going commercial for a while yet.
No,
Charlotte.
and maybe not enough sun. What would happen if the clouds were out? And you'd be a bit worried.
Charlotte, thanks very much. Let's take a look at the front page of the newspapers for you.
Got with the rest of the news with Charlotte.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yes, in other news, the American and Russian governments are refusing to comment on reports they're planning a spy swap. It's claimed the US could exchange 10 alleged spies recently arrested power alone.
Charlotte, thanks very much indeed. You are watching Sunrise on our website, skynews.com. Why Nicolas Sarkozy's in trouble.
Charlotte. Thanks, Kay. In other news this morning, first some big breaking news from the City. Our City editor, Mark Kleiman, is poised with the details. And Mark, what more can you tell us?
Charlotte, what I've learned this morning is that some of the most...
In other news, the American and Russian governments are refusing to comment on reports they're planning a spy swap. It's claimed the US could exchange 10 alleged spies recently arrested in return for Russian prisoners. The suspects are due to appear in a federal court in New York later today. Let's go to Amanda Walker, who's live in Moscow for us. And are we likely to get any official word on this, Amanda?
Well, we don't know. The only claims that we've had so far...